morning, all, and thank you for being here. So we're going to have a panel this morning that we're going to take a little bit of a different approach. But first, let's do some introductions. From DU, we have Ahmed bin Ali, and
that's the opposite.
From Salat.
I'm sorry.
You did not mean
That's
to
a
it.
lot. So I've off on the to continue. From DU, we have Hatem Bamatraf, and from Etisalat, we have Ahmed bin Ali. And they will do some brief introductions, and then I'll follow up. But my background is I've been with Wipro. I lead the global consulting practice at Wipro and have been in the telecom industry for over 20 years doing strategy and operations. Ahmed, do you want to give it?
Good morning, everybody. It's really a pleasure to be here sharing with you this morning and this event. Etisalat, as most of you know, is based in 18 countries. We operate in 18 markets. 11 of them is in Africa, and the rest is in Asia. We are more or less focusing on the emerging markets, expanding in these markets, trying to add values to different markets, and that I think with the infrastructure of telecom, which is really needed in each country, this will give a chance to a great enhancement of either economy in these countries, education, and also different sectors. I mean, I remember not far back in 2004, we have celebrated our achievement of having a customer base of 3 million customers. Now, within about seven years, we have achieved a customer base which is exceeding 140 million customers. And that, if you calculate it, it would be very difficult. The percentage of our growth, it's more than 2,500% of growth in customer base. Salat used to be for quite some time as a monopoly operator in the UAE. Then we have think of expand in the international markets. We have tried. Our first acquisition was in Tanzania, and then we have succeeded in our operation there. Then we started the real expansion in Saudi Arabia, and then Egypt, then going to Nigeria, Indonesia, India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Gabon, Ivory Coast. So we have continued to really grow faster. We have three main pillars in entering any markets. If those have been accomplished, we'll be able to evaluate and review the entering of the markets. The first pillar is to add value to the community of the market that we are entering. Second thing is to add a value to our customers, where we are always introducing a new technology, a new innovation in all of the markets. If you take a look at the different markets, in Sudan we have introduced the next generation network. In Egypt we have introduced the 3.75G mobile network. In Saudi Arabia the 3G was the first in Saudi Arabia. And also the third one is to have a return of investment for our shareholders, whether as a government in UAE, which owns 60% of our stakes, or our partners in the different countries. And I think there are different chances and opportunity, even though it's being limited these days, but still there are chances for either growth in different markets or adding more to our existing operation as a stock, or also to coordinate with different operators in the same region for alliance and also further expansion in order to exchange the resources, the economies of scales, the technology between the different operators. And I think Salat is a pioneer in being one of the leading company and a group of companies in telecom world. And we have a history of good achievements. And I think that one of the major success for Salat is that we have our customers to be the first. We centralize on our customer needs and requirements. And also at the same time, we have good talent within Salat who have really worked hard to achieve this success. Thank you.
Thank you. And Hatem, could you do a brief introduction?
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure and I am honored to be here with you today. I hope that by the end of this event, we'll exchange thoughts together as an industry to overcome and come up actually with some ideas and solutions to overcome the challenges that we currently face in the market. My name, as a brief introduction of myself, my name is Hatem Bamatraf. I'm actually replacing Mr. Osman Sultan, not as a CEO of the company, only for that event. So Mr. Osman, he's supposed to run this panel, but due to unplanned schedules, so he sent his apology for all of you. I am responsible in DO for the network development and operation. So anything that it is related to technology and network, it's my responsibility from planning, design, rollout, and implementation. And also, I was added the responsibility of operation and maintenance recently. Well, I guess everybody should know DO by this time. DO is the second telecom service provider in UAE. We got the license in 2006, and we started our commercial operation in 2007. We are actually now having around more than 40% of the market share in mobile. And we provide all the integrated telecom services, all the regulated services. So we have an FTTH network across a big area in UAE. Mobile network, we have 2G, 3G, and we are actually about to launch as well our LTE. We actually as well provide IPTV and all of the video services for consumers and enterprise. So this is the introduction about myself, John.
Thank you. Thank you, Ahmed. Thank you, Hatem. So what we are going to do with this format, we are actually going to take a little bit of a different approach, and we're going to take some of the headlines that are in the news today, and we will discuss them and briefly, perhaps 5 minutes around each headline. And also what we'll have during our session, we'll have some time for some questions from the audience as well. So I believe the first headline is for you, Ahmed. It's around the mobile firms turning towards value-added services.
For me, right? Yeah. I think voice will still be a major returner of investment, of revenues for most of operators for the years to come, even though it's being increased in the past few years. But I think it will remain to be as a major one. On the other hand, operators, they need to innovate in different value-added services in order to enhance the different resources of income. If we're talking about price and price war or whatever is happening in different markets, we could, I think we all notice different markets even within Asia, where price was the most competition element in these markets. And we have seen how the effect negatively on the markets where they want to raise the price up now and they could not make it. So I think the value-added services would be the right solution in giving a value for money for the operators, where a customer, they end up by looking for the quality of service in terms of services that will be provided. Etisalat, if I'm not mistaken, have scored more than 250 services which we have launched in UAE. That's different packages, products, and services. And I think by giving multiple choices to our customers in different segments, business customers and also mass consumers, this will give them facility in selecting their right needs of services. And also, I think one of the major value-added services which we are launching from now and then is what we have done even for a country like Tanzania, where we have launched the mobile health services and mobile baby, where transport is a bit difficult, and also availability of experts in terms of clinics and doctors. It's difficult to reach in different villages. So with the mobile, people, they will be able to receive different awareness messages. They will be able to exchange information and also to scan the pregnancy situation to ensure about the health situation. And rather than that, I think having an operator with multiple services that could be as a solid services and pillars, and also a value-added service where we could see the massive usage of social medias, digital communication at this stage became as a must. And I think at this stage of time, and also for the years to come, there will be a continue in looking for different applications and also services which is related to social media and social communication. But in the future, I think there will be more into a video and mobility. And that's why I think we try to build up the network which really suits all the requirements of the future by building a fiber to the home, being Abu Dhabi the first capital in the world who have been completely linked to a fiber to the home, and also by introducing the 4G. We have already completed a huge number of base stations. We have the soft launch is already done. And I think being a pioneer in giving enough bandwidth to our consumers, so they will have a lot of value in using the services. We were talking about only voice communication at the early stage. Now it has been merged to be a voice and data. Now it's voice, data, and also video. And there are huge and massive requirements for capacity where it's taken a lot of the network. So I think we've been ahead of the technology in providing the latest technology to the region. And even before we provide, before the readiness of handset, if we were, just remember that in 2003, when we launched the 3G services, there were a very, very limited number of vendors who were providing the 3G mobile sets. And when they have seen that we have launched the network, so there was acceleration in even providing the handset. So it's been massive. And I think we have done also the same initiatives and pioneering and introducing the 4G to the UAE. And I think by that will enhance even the applications and also the handset manufacturer to provide the smartphones which could work with the 4G.
Thank you very much. And actually, Hatem, do you have any comments around that title, or we can move to the next title, which is very related.
Well, I think the next title is as well related to the first
Right.
title, so it's
Okay.
it'll
Yeah,
address
so
the
as,
same points
and
from-
interestingly, as Ahmed was saying, the capacity demands of these value-added services are critical, and that ties right into the next headline around the next generation's need for speed.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think that what we are witnessing as an industry, and I asked most of the service providers nowadays, there is an explosion in data and data growth. And most of the analysis and market researchers, they say that this is the next opportunity for service providers or as an industry as an overall. As Ahmed said, and I commented that there is, and what we are seeing right now is there is a decline in the voice ARPU, and there is a challenge to maintain the ARPU from the voice all over the world. And we all know the reasons why. In the last years, at least in this part of the world, in that region, in the Middle East, there was, the market was really liberated and opened, and lots of service providers have came to the market. So we've seen that there is tough competition. Most of the service providers earlier, they used to have their main revenue stream from voice, but this is currently is changing. There are quite encouraging numbers out there on the contribution of the data to the overall business revenue of companies. We've seen numbers like 20% and so on. And there are as well some operators maybe in the developed markets, the contribution of the data is much more. So we've seen changes in the business model. So that's why there is a demand from users, from our subscribers, from the market for data. This is, of course, one of the main reasons for that is the digital lifestyle that we are living in right now. Maybe 10 years ago, we were not living the same life that we are living right now. I would say that the mobile itself, the mobile as a device, when it was introduced as a product to the market, have created a change in our life behavior. And then the added features to that device, which is the messaging, first of all, and then the data capability and high-speed packet data, and then, of course, the broadband and so on, have as well enabled or has contributed to the change of life of our life. So all in all, we see that there is always a demand of data, and there is an explosion in data growth. This, of course, will require us to bring new networks that is capable of handling the high speed. And this is what we've seen, that the HSDBA introduction with the 14.4 and then the 21 megabits per second and so on, and then the dual carrier. So there is as well a development in that space. And recently, of course, the LTE and the 4G with a promising speed of up to 150 megabits per second from the first introduction. So certainly, yes. But the question, or this is the $1 million question, is that what is the return on investment if we as a service provider keep doing that and keep modernize our networks and keep expanding and putting more capacity? What is the return from that? This is the challenge that we are seeing today in the market. Competition. What we have seen is competition nowadays is not anymore a local competition. We have seen competition as well that it comes from outside. Yesterday I read in one of the presses that Google is aiming or are thinking about introducing an MVNO in some of the markets. So if this is true, that means this is an even more challenge. We will see more challenging time as a service providers to maintain our business. So if the competition nowadays with Google and over-the-top players are in content, and probably this will be extended as well to voice and other services, then that means it's, I wouldn't say the dead end of the service providers, but it is quite challenging. I want to see how we will overcome this. We are planning, as I said in the beginning, we are planning to introduce our 4G and LTE network, hopefully before the end of this year. We have seen a tremendous growth in data, and the consumption as well of every user have increased, enabled, of course, by the smartphone and smart devices that have been introduced, the Apple and the Android. And we will continue as well, of course, to modernize our network to cater for that data growth and expansion. And of course, we are as well looking at opening our horizons. We don't only think of providing the standard telecom services as voice and data and as a connectivity. We are trying as well to invest and move into other areas like content and to jump into other sectors of the industry. It's quite interestingly, probably I need to share this with you. I was in one of the events in UK 2 weeks ago, and the picture that has been drawn as a telecom industry, it was quite alarming. As there was one guy, he came and presented, and he said that the telecom as a growth sector, this is how the investors are looking at the telecom industry nowadays. It's not promising anymore. So if people want to put money in that sector, they will quite better to put that money or cash into other industries, like, for example, media industry or petrol industry or manufacturing industry. But the telecom nowadays is not quite promising industry that will give you a return. And this is the challenges that we have seen. He have presented lots of figures around innovation, the amount of investment that has been spent in innovation 10 years ago and now. It's quite dropping. There is a drop of around 35%, and he have given figures as well about people leaving the industry. There's a lot of skills and competent and technical people. They left the industry. The workforce that used to work for the telecom industry have dropped as well significantly in the last 10 years. So he was saying that we need to come up with actions. We need to come up with solutions. And this is actually what I believe that we need to address in our panel.
Thank you. I think that's very, very spot on. As we all know, the telecom industry is changing dramatically, and there are new competitors on all fronts that actually make it very challenging. So there are numerous business models that are beginning to be adopted out there. And actually, I think the next headline talks about consolidation, and which is certainly something, Ahmed, that you can speak very, very deeply about.
As I had mentioned earlier, I mean, if we're talking about merging and acquisition, which is available now in the market, it's decreasing somehow. Etisalat have maintained one of, if not the highest credit rating in the telco business in the world, and we still have enough reserved cash and also the know-how for the acquisition, even though it's being limited, but we still view the different opportunities in merging and acquisition and entering new markets, and we remain to be a buyer whenever the opportunity are correct and whenever the opportunity meets our strictly investment strategy. We were talking about even the merging and acquisition during the economic crisis between 2008 and now. We have raised our stake in different markets. We have entered new also countries like Sri Lanka, and also so there was a chance which is much more than what we are seeing nowadays. Greenfield would be the ideal way of entering a market based on our views, but I think it's being due to either economic or political situation in Asia and Africa. There might be a limitation in providing of a new greenfield license in most of the countries, and there are a lot of countries where they are over-licensed as operators and ISPs, where there will be a big chance for consolidation and merging between different operators. I mean, there are different merging happened recently, and we were also attempting in mega merging when we have started negotiation and our attempt to buy Zain early this year. And I think if there is no chance or opportunities for merging and acquisition, there might be a consolidation even within the markets or within the operation that we have. And if those also not available, I think the right model for most of the markets is the partnering and alliance between the operators, where they will be benefiting from each other, either in economy of scale and resources, technology, where they'll be able to exchange their knowledge, know-how, and also resources. And there was different initiatives by Etisalat, which has been done either with Telenor or France Telecom, and also with the vendors as well, where we'll be able to have alliance and partners with the major operators in order to serve either the existing markets that we work together on, or to have the know-how in different markets. So, I mean, the most important things about Etisalat is their knowledge about the markets, especially in Asia and Africa. We hope that we know the market, we know their need, and also we are introducing a new services to these markets. So I think different operators who's entering the emerging markets, such as Asia and Africa, I think they'll be able to benefit from our experience in these. And also it might be also smaller kind of consolidation, where in some countries we have seen that's overloaded with a different license. And I think a regulator in these countries could play a major role in helping the smaller players who wish to exit, to assist them in either consolidation with the other bigger operators, or try to really merge between the two operators. Because at the end of the day, I mean, we always believe that competition is really healthy. Competition is healthy and good for the customers, for the operators, and also for the countries. But if we are overdoing that, I think it will be miserable for the customers, where he'll be paying for on return of the quality. He'll be paying a lot, but with less quality of services and varieties, and also for the industry, where will be price war, and also less services will be introduced, or less investment in these countries. And also, at the end of the day, it's for the industry as a whole within the countries. So I think governments or also regulators will have play a big role in these types of consolidation.
That's very interesting. I think we all know the capital investment that's required in the telecom industry just to get these new broadband capabilities out there is tremendous. And so to your point, competition is healthy. But I think that kind of a very nice introduction to the next topic around the over-the-top players, where how do you balance this capital investment that has to be required in order to get the returns, especially when others may capitalize on your investment. So, Hatem, do you want?
Again, this is the question. I think that it is the most important question today. Sorry. In the industry, beating over the top players at their own game. Commenting on just what Ahmed said and giving you some probably figures, we already seen consolidation in the market. There is service providers that have run out of the game, they exit. Orascom, for example, decided to sell out their business, the telecom business, to another Russian company. Zain was offered for sale last year. Vodafone are exiting in some of the specifically Eastern European market we have seen. So all of this, what tells you is that there is really a tough and challenges, I would say, in the business to in the telecom space. Looking at the vendor side as well, vendors, and here we have Ericsson. He may comment on my statement later on. What we have seen as well, a few years ago, Nortel decided to quit the business as a telecom supplier infrastructure. He was one of the major telecom infrastructure suppliers, and he has lots of innovations and patents. Nokia Siemens merged together as one entity. Alcatel-Lucent merged as well a few years ago. Motorola have left the business as well suddenly. So what we see is that there is lots of consolidation, but this is the question: why is this happening? Because there is no more, or the margin are getting really tighter, and a window of opportunity is getting much closer. So beating over the top players, it's one of the challenging things, I would say, that most, as an industry, we have to do something about that. I had an idea, and I don't know, I want to introduce an idea that I want to provoke probably the discussion later on. Some question comes. I introduced this idea. I said that the business model today of over-the-top players mainly relying on advertisement model. Their main base is to get lots of audience worldwide and to be paid by advertisers. Of course, there are some opportunity in mobile advertisement and so on, but all of this would be limited to a small geographical area wherever you are licensed to operate. You cannot beat those over-the-top players because of their coverage, because of they are worldwide, and you cannot be a worldwide operator. So the thing is that we have to share part of the revenue and the ads, but how do we do that today? Today, this is not possible because all the revenue is going from our markets going to those over-the-top players. And if we came up with a solution, I would say that to block all the advertisement, if there is a web page and there is a content and there are associated ads within that content, if we introduce a solution that will filter out the content and will pass the content and will block the ads unless we are paid some margin for the advertisement, because in my point of view, that those over-the-top players, they don't have the right to advertise in our network without paying us. This was just one of the ideas, because I really couldn't think of any other way of doing things. Maybe it's quite a radical decision to do, but I think we should have the right, we should enter to that game. This is, of course, one of the ideas but if you go as a single, of course, provider, they will not listen to you. You have to go as an industry, as a group of operators, and all those big operators who really have a mass number of subscribers, they could be heard. But if we go today to Google and we say, listen, we'll block your ads, or how they say, okay, we will block our content from UAE. We will not, so they will not listen to us unless we go as an industry together. Then we might do change. Of course, there are other ways, which is mobile advertisement. I think that service providers have an opportunity in that space as well. It has not been capitalized, it's not been used today. We have lots of information about subscribers, their behaviors, their locations, their time spent, a lot of information, but it's not been used successfully. I think that even if we don't have that kind of innovation, if we just sell that right, the right of information to be used by other companies, will make money. Just as simple as that, just to provide access to some of the players to come and have that kind of statistics about our subscribers, we can as well make some margin out of that. So all in all, Jan, it's quite challenging. There should be lots of innovation. There should be lots of thinking around this. One of the things as well is to jump into their space. But this would be quite challenging for a telecom service provider to go into the internet space. We have started though doing that. We have launched a portal. It's called ANAU. You can visit it by www.anau.com. The idea behind that is to create a platform and a portal to aggregate content that are specifically for Middle East users. So all of the content that is related to games, songs, music, videos, and that is related to this part of the world, to the Middle East region. You know, Middle East region have around 400 million inhabitants. So that's quite significant number of population. So if we address that market, if we come up with a portal or a platform that we could aggregate content and use it for that part of the world, we as well might be successful in getting new revenue streams and jumping into other game. And it's not only the telecom, classical telecom services. We're going as well to the content space, but content space, as I said, it requires as well mass, because the model itself and the content, it relies on advertisement. So this is one of the initiatives that we have launched recently. It would require some time, of course, to pay off. But nevertheless, this is a long-term investment that we have decided to go. And hopefully, I encourage and I urge the telecom service providers and industry as an overall to move into as well that directions and to come up with ideas and innovation to really overcome the challenges that we face currently.
Thank you very much. It is indeed a dilemma of the marketplace. I think we'll be talking about through this session and probably through the day many of the other dynamics that the over-the-top players play. There are other kind of other responsibilities that telecom service providers have, and I think that Ahmed, you can speak about some of the efforts that Etisalat is doing in the green space as it relates to this next headline.
Etisalat has adopted CSR green since long time, and I think we have been a pioneer in introducing even the fiber optic and fiber to the home, which really reducing the carbon footprint and also energy 80 to 70%. And I think that's by itself, it's encouraging even the industry and also the vendors to provide more solutions toward green initiatives. We have partnered with our vendors to provide a solar type of equipment and also base stations, which has been already introduced in several markets. Even we're not talking about a green and physical activities, but also when you see that which we have built the palm station, which is even for your eyes you could see as a green. Also different initiatives where we have started with starting from smart home, smart office, smart city, smart buildings, and going forward. This will also reduce a lot of energy and having a good initiative toward the green. If we're talking about the billing system which we are doing, the scratch cards or whatever cards that's being GSM cards introduced in our operation in Saudi Arabia by Mobile was also a good green initiatives toward these type of SIM cards, virtual services, sharing the resources, going toward also the green data centers, which is the most important, which really require a huge energy. I think that initiative have also added to the initiative that we are doing. And I think if I can recall that most of our participation in this year and last year events in telecom conferences was talking about either CSR or green initiatives. So it's a challenge. It's something that I think all the operators have to work toward this aim, and it is even within our internal documentations and also strategy. You'll see that either CSR or green initiatives is one of the key pillar in most of our initiatives, and I think operators can play a big role in enforcing such requirements to the different vendors. And I think we have succeeded, and we have seen also good interest from different suppliers and vendors in providing different alternatives in line with our green initiatives. And I think it's something that we could be really working hard toward returning to the communities that we are working in, and also to the human being.
Thank you very much. It is, I think it's a tribute to the green initiatives that you have and the scale and scope that of the impact that they're making.
Even for small things, who would remember fax anymore? When introducing an internet where could really replace the fax requirements and also a lot of voice requirements. You could come a few years back to your office with the fax full of fax has been sent, papers everywhere, and these things. Internet was a trend to replace such things. But I think if an operator could work the right business model to really adopt the new technology, adopt the new initiatives, and also try to have it within a business plan to really assist, not to be a kind of obstacle toward these kind of initiatives. I remember that we have received a lot of objections when we have introduced the internet to the UAE back in '95. And I think that with the kind of education and awareness to different sectors, there will be a huge kind of benefits. Now, social media have been started as a kind of greeting token of personal issues, something very minor. Now, social media is turned to be a kind of a tool for evolutions. So I think we could not stop such kind of initiatives, but we could work out a type of business model which could really benefit all the stakeholders, operators, the network builders, also the OTT, and I think that would be a big challenge in the coming period.
So are you seeing a very positive business impact from your green initiatives as well?
Yes, yes. I mean, even if we talk about the branding and also the image of the companies, where they have spent a lot of their revenue back to the advertisement agencies and these things. I mean, a small initiatives where you could save the environment and also save even with energy and also with your networks. At the same time, you'll end up by having a good image, being an environment-friendly operator, where it could really improve a huge impact on your image. And I think this should not be the main aim, and this is what we believe in. We adopt green technology not only for image enhancement, but it's also for our business. But at the same time, this would be a good and positive effect on implementation of such initiatives.
Thank you. And to the, actually, I guess, Hatem, the next headline is going to play to the point that I think you introduced around the over-the-top players and the promulgation of data and how it impacts the network.
Well, as I indicated at the beginning, that we have seen, and this is what everybody, actually most of the service provider have seen, that there is an explosion in the data growth, which requires us actually to put lots of investment to expand our networks, whether those network elements are by core network, the packet core network, the transmission and the transport, the IP networks, the mobile networks, and we have seen that as well in both fronts. Actually, it's not only in mobile. There is a growth in mobile, and there is a growth as well in fixed network. So there is lots of content, as I said, that the digital lifestyle of people have enabled that growth. The introduction of the smartphones recently have as well facilitated their margin, and this is very high. They don't need to put any money, neither license, nor infrastructure, nor equipment, nor anything. So there are ways, of course, that the market has thought of. There is the infrastructure sharing. This was one of the initiatives that we saw, and we really as well encourage that. We actually in UAE, us and Etisalat are already in the infrastructure sharing. So that will save at least part of the cost of investment that you need to do in order to meet that growth of traffic. New as well ways of optimizing the operating model and the service provider as well we have seen that, for example, the outsourcing and the managed service as well. This is as well to create efficiency in your operating model and to save cost in order to facilitate the expansion and growth. So there are as well quite initiative and the mobile or the telecom service provider have gone to in order really to optimize the operating model but currently we don't see that any of the service providers really, looking at that from that perspective, that until when we will continue to invest in our networks and our infrastructure to meet the data growth. When are we going to get some of the pie of that opportunity, of that business?
So to that point, and this is a general question, with the growth of data, we've been talking about the dilemma of the service provider versus some of the over-the-top players who leverage the network but potentially don't pay for it. What are some of the models with the advent of true convergence where distribution and content are becoming melded? How do you see your business model moving forward to actually help both facilitate profit for Du and Etisalat, as well as to provide services? I mean, I know it's the dilemma of the day, but how do you, Hatem, do you want to go?
Well, this is what I think what we have talked about today is that what is required from service providers really to jump into that space? What should we do with the think outside the box, not to be only as a service provider in terms of just providing connectivity and facilitating connectivity to content, that the main benefiter of that connectivity is the content provider. We get part of the share of that, of course, which is the connectivity cost. Today, it is still in higher margin, but as I said, there is lots of competition nowadays in every country. So those margins are declining. Voice revenues are declining. People, they have as well options to get connectivity more than one service provider. So this is what I think that we need to come up with. We need to, whether we jump to the content space, this is what we have done as Du. This is where we have launched our portal, anayu.com, to address actually the Middle East segment, which is around 400 million. Mobile advertisement as well is one of the tools I think that we have to capitalize on this. We've seen that there are innovations as well in that space, so we have to go quickly to that space. The other thing is, I think that it adds to the challenges, the complexity and the fragmentation of the industry today. If you compare today the PC industry, we have mainly 2 operating systems with multiple of devices. So if you compare that with the mobile industry, you have lots of operating systems. You have the Apple, you have the Android, the Symbians, and you have the Bada of Samsung and Windows platform, RIM, they have their own operating system, and so on. So it seems to be that every device manufacturer have his own operating system, and which add to the complexity that if you want to invest on an application, you need to develop that application to meet all those operating systems. So that's another complexity and difficulty, that you cannot develop a specific application or content that will suit one operating system. So all of this those are challenges. We need to think really outside the box, come up with ideas. We need to invest in content. The idea that I have introduced in my previous session, which is try to get part of the revenue share from the ads, from the over-the-top, try to push to change the existing business models and open up. This is something that needs to be considered as well as an industry. So those are the main things or main points that I see and we can use.
So, and Ahmed, thank you, Hatem. And Ahmed, from your perspective, with the scale that you have and supporting these services, what's your perspective on how the business model might change or might deal with some of the threats to from the over-the-top players and the like?
Probably we are in a better position more than so many operators because of the portfolio which we have, whether the companies, which is non-core business companies, and also with the strong connectivity that we have through our carrier and wholesale, where we're benefiting from such kind of OTT initiatives, and also we have done several business model where we could have a win-win situation. But I very much share what Hatem concern about the how it's going to be next. Are we going to be the dumb pipe, which we're going to be welcoming all type of applications, and also, but I think, I mean, we have already partnered with Facebook in our operation in Egypt, and I'm sure that there are a lot of different business models all the way, and I think this kind of challenges given us a huge number of opportunities where we could really find the best way. I mean, the radical change within the industry, and even if we recall a few years back, I mean, who could ever think that Yahoo would be, other companies would be able to compete with Yahoo? Who would ever think that people will stop or will migrate from using Nokia handsets to another handsets? I mean, it was customer interface was very handy. I mean, Yahoo was so nice and easy to browse. But I think the new trend, the new innovation, and different, not focusing in one part of your business, going beyond that, and creating different opportunities and channel to satisfy your requirement, your customer need. And I think with the Google Plus and whatever is happening now with Apple and the iPhone, which iPhone 5, this will make a big revolution. RIM have also worked very hard in giving different options. We're still maintaining the different either instant messages or also, even the browsing of the devices. So I think there will be, it's not easy to predict what's going to be next. And I think it's even in terms of content, video will be the main requirements in the coming period, and start being there. Who could, stay without having a YouTube or different video? And I think as a network provider, as a service provider, we have really put the right infrastructure to our customers. And I think it will be wise to have these kind of OTT and other applications to use our built network, but wisely, and also with a good business model where we could have our return of investment kind of guarantee, even though that it is a long return of investment, and also at the same time to have our customers benefiting from such kind of services.
Very good. That is. I think that it's an issue that we will continue to look at, but I think it's very appropriate. That your point around our challenge is our opportunity. So. What we're going to transition into is what is going to be called a lucky dip. So we'll be actually drawing from a few key words that we'll actually discuss. But before we do that, I just wanted to open it up just to, if that's actually Lauren, if it's okay, I was going to open up just for a few questions from the audience. Would that be okay? Does anyone have, I think we can have, a couple questions from the audience in between the two sessions. I see a few hands. I don't know if we have any microphones out there or how to facilitate it. So there's a gentleman back there standing up.
Christian Kearney from JP Morgan, if I may. Two questions to the panel.
Yeah.
The first one is, we haven't touched on spectrum refarming. I was just wondering how much your businesses think along these lines for LTE FG deployment. The second question I would have is building on what we learned from the EU Telco Commissioner Kroes yesterday, and you probably heard about their views on what to do with the opening up of fiber and how to potentially reduce the LLU fee for competition in Europe. In other words, how do you see the fiber discussion developing in this part of the world? We have a model in Qatar, we have a model here in the UAE, but which way do you see the opening up of fiber going here in terms of giving access to competitors on the fiber networks, which are huge investments for your companies? Thank you.
So just to repeat the question is around what's the impact of fiber and
the fragmentation
and the
Spectrum.
do you want to?
Yeah, the Telecom Regulatory Authority for the refinement of the spectrums. They are open to use, for example, as we are planning to introduce the LTE using the 1800 spectrum. So we have refarmed the 1800. We had some of the spectrum, and we took, of course, an extra spectrum because we still see that the LTE will not acquire lots of traffic where we should impact our existing, because the LTE would require as well specific devices that will need some time to pick up. Until then, we can refarm some of our existing spectrums. Of course, the existing spectrums within most of the services are the best part of the spectrum, which is the 900 and the lower part of the spectrum, which is good in terms of coverage. And we expect that the refarming of the spectrums will happen definitely in the entire, I think, industry. It depends, of course, on the uptake of the traffic. But the question is that we keep adding, the one network after the another one network. I think the question should be that when are we going to switch off to 2G, for example? When are we going just to rely on 3G and LTE? Because the thing is that 2G is only provided, we are using it for voice only. 3G has as well the capability of voice, and LTE has as well the capability of voice. So this is the question, and we need to really, for example, take a decision, or at least there should be a forecast on when do we see that we'll switch off the 2G and get rid of the operating expenses in that layer.
Ahmed, do you have any additional comments?
I think with regards to fiber, the good initiatives, I remember when we were studying the introduction of fiber to UAE, we have visited several countries who were very advanced in their initiative of fiber to the home. And we have discovered that most of these countries, they've been supported by the government, where the government is contributing for the fiber infrastructure. And I think that was a few years back. Then we took the initiative, we said that there is a huge need of fixed services within either offices or home. So we have took the full initiative and cost for the fiber. We have spent about 6 billion dirham in laying down 3 million kilometers of fiber in the UAE only. And that's a massive number of cabling and providing fiber to the home. And the impact we have started seeing it where the huge expansion in data requirements with our customers, video demanding, gaming, entertainment requirements. And I think that the wise decision which we have took and the initiative at that stage have really started we started to see the return of investment. It's going to be a long return of investment, but at the same time, I mean, if you provide one kind of cable which can provide you all type of either triple play or quadruple play, whatever it's going to be, this at least will give you a kind of relief in the future of building different networks. The main question would be is what kind of content could be used to fill up this kind of capacity. And I think there is a huge growing need in the content. And I think as long as our customers really benefiting from that, a huge bandwidth, either with our fiber or with the LTE and 4G introduction, I think this will give a more room for improvement for the content providers and OTT and different applications.
Thank you for these views. Can I just follow up in terms of your fiber network? Is that part of the TRA UAE discussion about opening it up to you as well, or is that excluded from these discussions? Because I'm just wondering how you're protecting your $6 billion investment.
Would you repeat the question, please?
The ongoing bitstream discussions with TRA UAE with regards to local loop unbundling bitstream access on the copper, do these discussions include the FTTH access for your competitor, or are they excluded from these discussions?
Yes, it does include. I mean, even the initiatives of fiber optic was, I mean, we have started that initiatives even before we have any discussion with the TRA for that. But to answer your question is yes, it is.
Thank you.
So we're going to move to the
question.
I've been told that we're running a little long.
Okay.
So I apologize. So we're going to move to the next, where we're actually going to pick a few topics, and then Ahmed and Hatem will have 3 minutes. Oh, should we have another question? Okay, that's fine. Actually, I will defer to your. So we do. We'll take one more. The consensus is one more question.
Thank you. I've been protecting IT companies through providing IT security to IT companies and governments for the past 25 years in the Middle East. And we went through an enormous challenge to try to enforce the importance of data security. Today, we forecast that a bulk of the data will be transmitted through mobile handsets, smartphones, and tablets. Actually, we forecast that more than 40, most laptops could be extinct as we're going to be using tablets and on the cloud computing. The challenge here today, and the question is, we have to look at the security aspect of things very seriously. Today, I represent Ox Hosting, and the bulk of our communications today are using emails from the cloud, from companies like Google, Yahoo, and Hotmail that you've just mentioned. These are communications that we use daily with very important content. And these are being channeled through servers in the Western world and elsewhere. Certain countries have taken this initiative more seriously, like Australia, Turkey, and others, by preventing companies of being able to communicate with governments if they are not locally hosted. Our concern is, if we're going to be able to use the telco as the media for data, what initiatives are we taking to ensure the secrecy of that communication when we use it specifically with government agencies and government? I protect, my solutions protect Abu Dhabi armed forces. I protect central banks. These are important entities that has to ensure that this information not only is encrypted, but also secure. We had issues from BlackBerry. You're mentioning Google want to interfere and get into our markets, Yahoo, Hotmail. These are very important concerns at challenging times when you have so much to worry about, from expenditure, from investments, from other issues to worry about. So please, how are you going to be able to help do that?
So just so I can help facilitate, the question is really the responsibility of the service provider to make sure that there's security.
Yes, and that the communication stays within locally hosted communications.
I think you probably, I don't know if you heard about the UAE and the BlackBerry issue. It was quite in the news for quite some time. There was a big debate whether to host the servers in RIM or to bring it here to UAE. And there was a big decision that has been taken from a government level and a security agencies in the country that since the BlackBerry is being used as one way of communication, even within the government offices, so it was quite imperative that all of this information need to be hosted here. And we have moved into that direction, and at the end, this is what happened. So to answer your questions, yes, and if the information, it's very much, I would say, a formal way of communication, and the content and information flow is related to government and government authorities and government offices, yes, there are security measures, and there are quite red line that we cannot cross, and all of this information has to be hosted here and well secured at any point of time.
Thank you.
Does this answer your question?
It does, thank you.
Would you like that?
I think he covered the issue. Security is a very much concern of all the operators in the UAE. There are very strict security measures, and I think we are, one of the very few countries in the world who's not been really attacked by either hackers or by with anything that concern to security. And I think the initiative that which the government have done with the BlackBerry was really a brave one. And I think whether it's a personal type of communication or a business type of communication or government sensitive information, I think all the customers have the right to have their privacy and also security in their either data or conversation.
So, okay, I think what that is going to, that will end our panel discussion, and I just would like to thank Ahmed and Hatem so much for actually participating and enlightening us with their perspectives. Thank you very much.
Thank you.